You can solve park number stories. Yep. All you need is some confidence and some strategies. We're learning one strategy today, and it's called how to make a 10. So we're making a 10, and many times we use that term in third grade. It's best if we work in the base 10, and that helps us to see numbers as a 10 and as ones. When we break numbers down by place value, it's easier to add, subtract, multiply, and divide because our brain can easily break down numbers that end in 0 rather than ones that end in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we're going to see what does it mean to break down a 10 and also what does it mean to make a 10. So we have the number 11. 11 is a very cool number. It's very close to my friend 10. 11 is made of 1 10 and 1 1. When I break 11 down, that is exactly what I see. I break it down and I see a 10 and a 1. When I break things down like this, it helps me to easily add or subtract numbers when I have another number that might be smaller or even numbers that are bigger. So when I have 11 plus 4, I might have to stop and think. But if I just want to put together my ones place, I now see I have 5. 4 and 1 is much easier to add together very quickly. So now I have a new number in my ones place, and that's 5. And I still have my 10. Well, when I look at this, I look at 11 plus 4, and I look at 10 plus 5. Still the same value. They still both equal 15. But why do I need to break it down into 10s and 1s? Well, the idea is if you break a number down into easier numbers to manipulate or move around, your brain can understand why you're doing it rather than just counting up or counting down to get to whatever number you think is your answer. All right, so we're going to put this into action so we can solve those park number stories. All right, so here we have a problem, and it's right off of our park practice. So many park problems will be a part A and a part B. Part A will usually give you the number story or the scenario, and then part B will want you to use what your answer was from part A to solve part B. So let's go ahead and look at just part A. Part A has Pablo. Pablo is going to a stamp show. And even if I don't know what a stamp show is, I know that he is a person and he is doing something. That is the main thing we focus on with number stories. What is this person doing? And then what do I need to do with these numbers? Okay. Pablo goes to a stamp show where he can share, buy, and sell stamps. The first day, Pablo starts with 744 stamps. He buys 27 stamps from his friend. He then sells 139 stamps. What is the total number of stamps that Pablo has after the first day of the stamp show? Okay. So with number stories, we need to figure out what we're reading about. We know it's about a boy named Pablo, and he has some stamps. Well, we need to go back and look and see what is Pablo doing with these stamps. So first we have Pablo starting with 744 stamps, buying 27 stamps, and then selling 139 stamps. So if I was a third grader, I would need to think, well, if I'm buying and selling things, I usually do that at the store. Buying would mean that I'm adding to what I have, and selling would mean that I'm taking away from what I have. So Pablo already has a certain amount of stamps, and that's 744. He's buying 27 stamps, and he's getting rid of or selling 139. So this is where we're understanding what operation to perform. Okay, we can go ahead and start to write down the same information now as an equation. So we have 744 stamps plus the 27 stamps he's about to buy. when we break down these numbers, right now, all we're thinking about is how many tens and how many ones do I see? Well, I see 7 ones, and I see 20. I see 4 and 40, and then I see 700. This is also the expanded form of these numbers. Okay? So the easiest thing would be to add my ones place first. In my ones place, I have a 4 and a 7. This is where we're going to use our practice from breaking numbers apart into a 10. So we have 4 plus 7. So I need to think to myself, how many of the ones from this 4 do I give to the 7 to make a 10? Well, if I give the 1, that's 8, 9, 10. Well, that's 3 ones that I gave away, and that leaves me with only 1 1. So now my new numbers are 1 plus 10. So I should still have the same value because I never got rid of any ones. I still had the same amount of my ones. I just moved it from one number to the other. So my new number is 11, and that comes up as 11 ones. Well, that doesn't sound right. 11 ones would be 110 and a 1. These numbers are going to go into our equation. So we now have a 1 in our ones place, and in the tens place, we have 3 numbers we need to look at. We have the 40, the 20, and don't forget the 10. So we have 4 and 2, which is 6, and plus 1 is 7. So our new number is 70. And our hundreds never changed. So we have a new number of how many stamps Pablo had. 771. But we are not quite done yet. Pablo also sold 139 of those stamps. So we are needing to subtract from this number. So what you see here is I already did some of the work for you because this problem has some regrouping that we need to do, and we're not quite ready for that yet. So with a problem like this, we have 1 in the ones place and a 9 in the ones place, and we're needing to subtract. And we have to be careful that we don't switch our numbers around because we're taking 139 away from 771. So we're not going to switch our numbers around. We did have to regroup. I've already done that for you. By regrouping, I borrowed a 10 from the tens place and I gave it to my 1. So I now have 11, and that made that 10 go away. So I now have 60. Now our numbers are easier to work with. So we have 11 minus 9 in our ones place. So we have 11, and we're going to take away 9 of them. Okay, and I could either count up from 9 or count down. And if I count up from 9, I have 10, 11. So that is 2 that is left. Okay, so I have 2 ones left. In my tens place, I have 70, which changed to 60 by us borrowing. So we have 60 minus 30. And all I'm doing is looking at the tens place. And 6 minus 3 is going to give me another 3. And it's a tens place, so 30. And then we have 700 minus 100. Again, looking at the hundreds place, so we have 7 minus 1. So we have 6, and it's in the hundreds place, 600. Okay, so our new number, when we write it, should be 632. Okay. We have now solved part A. When we ask what is the total number of stamps that Pablo has after the first day of the stamp show, we have already added up how many he had and how many he bought, and we subtracted how many he sold, and we now have 632 stamps. This was just a review of how we can use tens and ones and make tens to solve a park number story. It's not the end though. We have more strategies to learn. See ya on part B.